It always felt like it was something for someone else. So I remember listening to your podcast a while back and thinking, oh yeah, and then I was like, I don't need to listen, because that's for that's for other women.
Yeah.
Just being really honest, it just felt like it was something outside of me and something that would come at a much later date. And I think it was easy for me to be really busy with so many things. And then all of a sudden it felt like it was here and I'm now in it. And by in it, I mean, um, I'm now perimenopausal, because I explained to you, didn't I, that the doctor had said to me that I wasn't perimenopausal, and you said they're gaslighting you.
Mm,
And then I think we talked through symptoms again, possibly.
mm,
And you were like, no, you're perimenopausal. But I think if you hadn't have said that, I would still be thinking that I was almost just making it up,
yeah.
which is really upsetting because not everyone's got a Karen Arthur in their life.
Hello, and welcome to Menopause Was Black, the podcast. We are on season 7, episode 8, and I'm excited to bring our next guest to you today. My name is Karen Arthur. I am your founder and host of Menopause Was Black, the podcast that is committed to sharing the menopausal stories of Black people in any stage of menopause, primarily based in the UK. As I said, this is episode 8 and we are on season 7. I am sitting here, the weather has turned in the UK and we are coming to the close of Black History Month and World Menopause Month. And there's been lots and lots going on, not least to say the launch of my new children's picture book, Grandma's Locks, which has been really exciting. Another new venture. And I guess I love talking to my next guest because this is all about being seen. This is all about, I don't know, reaching a point in your life where women are like, nah, I'm not doing this anymore. I want to be me. So I won't say much more. However you listen to this podcast, I know you will enjoy this episode and I will see you on the other side. Welcome to Menopause Was Black, the podcast. Season 7. I want to say the number of the episode, but I've forgotten because that's how my brain works right now. And who is I? I'm Karen Arthur. I am your host. I'm bringing you the podcast that focuses on the menopause stories of Black people, primarily based in the UK. And I have a doozy of a guest for you today. Sharon Walters, insert screams, is a London-based artist and project curator. Her multidisciplinary series, Seeing Ourselves, explores identity, beauty standards, and race through intricate paper cutouts, hand-assembled collages, podcasts, talks, and events. With solo exhibitions at Hacklebury London and the Midland Art Centre, Walters received the Reach Art Prize in 2019 and the Mosaic Art Award at Howsett and Worth in 2023 for Seeing Ourselves. Walters was awarded the Card Fellowship Award by Royal Museums Greenwich, which will begin in February 2025 and culminate in an exhibition at the museum in 2026. Walters' works have been acquired by public collections, including the National Portrait Gallery and Soho House. And Sharon can also be seen on screen as an artist mentor in BBC's Make It at Market. Sharon is represented by Hacklebury London. And I'll give you all her contact details later. Well, not all of them, not her bank details, but you know what I mean. Anyway, welcome, Sharon, welcome.
Hi, Karen. Thank you so much for inviting me on. It's really funny listening back to your bio being read to you. You're like, oh my gosh, it's me. Thanks for
And
inviting me on. It's good to see you.
Good to see you. And also, remember, I took stuff. I tweaked it as well. Remember, otherwise I'd be talking all the way through the podcast, and you wouldn't get a word in. You have done loads since I met you back in. Gosh,
Yeah.
we're talking 2019 now. I think at Gunnersbury.
I think it's 2019 or 2018, one of the two. Yeah.
Yeah. So Sharon was working at Gunnersbury House. What was your title
Mhm.
there?
So I did public engagement. I did public programming and community engagement.
That's it.
So
That's
yeah, that's what I was doing. So I invited you in to deliver some workshops and things for us, and you did a brilliant job.
And thank you. And you were on the cusp, weren't you? This is
I
the
was.
before Sharon. And now you've gone in or going into the stratosphere. So I'm really pleased that you have been able to give me some time to talk today about personal stuff. So, Sharon, tell us about yourself. Who are you outside of your title and your accolades?
So I was thinking about this, and I think I know people always put mother first, but I'd say friend,
Mm,
mother. I'm a wife. Um, I'm now running again for the first time in a couple of years. So I'm back running, which is good.
mm.
And I have recently become a dog owner too. I'm not going to say dog mum, a dog owner.
But you are a dog mum. But yeah. And how's
Yeah.
that been?
So
How's that been? Because weren't you resisting? From what I understand, you were resisting having
for
a.
years, yeah, I was resisting for years,
Who wore
and
you down?
do you know what it was? My husband and kids, they all wanted. I've got two kids, 16 and 12,
Mm.
and everyone wanted a dog, and I kept saying no. And I went away for a week on my own earlier this year, and just had a bit of time and space. And then I just thought, you know what? Maybe we just go and look at some dogs. So obviously, the first puppy we saw, we got. That's how it worked.
And you've fallen in love, haven't you?
She's very sweet. She is really sweet. I've just had my first entire day with her
Okay. What's her
because
name?
my husband, Rosie,
Okay.
and it was really chilled. She was so much fun. And then
Mm.
she slept for the whole afternoon because I took her out on a long walk this morning. So that made it easier.
Well, I'm loving watching you turn from someone who didn't want any dogs to this not dog mum, dog parent
Yeah,
over on Instagram because some of the stories are very, very cute. And I kind of glad that you had that little, I don't know, soft companion as well because you are such a busy human and you're so
yeah.
focused on your work that it's nice to have a dog to kind of, or a pet to take you away from that in a sense. Does that make
I think
sense?
you're right. Yeah, it does. It really makes sense because today I think is the first day in a really, really long time that I haven't gone into the studio on a weekday or had a
Mhm.
meeting to go to on a weekday or had
Mm.
something to do with my art practice to do. And so today my focus was her really. And every time she rested, I realized there was time for me to rest. So I'd sit and chill. I did a couple of emails, but that was it.
Love it.
Uh, so and a friend recently said to me, actually, she said, do you know, I'm seeing a real soft side to you, a side that I haven't even seen you display when you
Wow.
talk about your children. I was a bit taken aback, a bit peed off as well, if I'm honest. But
Clearly a
like
process.
you're sucking your teeth and giving a little side eye, like shut up. But I, with hindsight, I kind of understand what she means. She's
Yeah,
making me slow down a bit, and I think with everything being so intense at the
mm,
moment and so much that I'm working on currently, it's nice to just sit down and watch a puppy rest.
beautiful,
Yeah.
beautiful. So what's your heritage? Where are your parents from?
So my mum was born in Barbados and my dad was born in Aruba, although his family are from Grenada and Carriacou.
Mhm.
And yeah, where my family come from.
Okay, and
Yeah.
where are you based?
I'm based in West London.
West
Yes, I'm
London.
based, yeah, in Ealing. Ealing. I don't even know why I said it like that, but you
I
started it
don't
and
know
I'll
why you
finish
said
it.
it like that either, but you carry on, love. And, how old are you,
I'm 49. I'm 50 next year.
Sharon? What are you gonna
I'm
do? Do you know what
50.
you're doing? I know you're planning.
Okay. You know I'm planning. So I'm thinking,
Mm.
I'm thinking about Lanceville House, Leslie's
Okay.
place.
Yeah.
I'm thinking possibly there or in Barbados, for
Yeah.
anyone who doesn't know. Or I think my husband's thinking of a trip with the four of us. So the
Okay.
four of
Why
us
is
will
it an
go.
or? That can be an and, surely.
No, no, I meant and. Did I say or? I
Yeah,
never
you said
ever meant
or,
or.
but
No, oh, did
Sharon,
I? Oh
I
no, don't
know
be
you didn't say
crazy.
yeah.
You know I did not mean or. That was a little slip.
Good.
I
I'm glad.
mean and. Um, so yeah, I'm thinking about a family holiday and I'm thinking about a friend's holiday
Mm, mm.
and then a solo holiday as well. So basically lots of holidays.
I'm feeling all of that. Feeling all of that.
Yeah.
So, big question, Sharon. Who taught
Mhm.
you about menopause?
Oh, that's such an interesting and good question. I think, right, I'm just going to say, I was going to skirt around it. You taught me about menopause.
How?
So I wasn't really. Um, you've taught me the most about menopause.
Okay.
Growing up, I didn't. I heard about hot flushes and I
Mm,
heard about the change.
mm,
But in terms of my wider knowledge, I would say most of that has come from you
mm,
starting maybe us having a conversation or
mm,
me watching you and how you're navigating things and what you've been talking about. I haven't really felt until this point it's been something, or within the last year, that it's been something that I've really needed to delve into because it's always felt as though it's for older women. And then all of a
mm.
sudden, rock stone, I'm older, innit?
Rock stone, you know.
Rock star. But it's true because I think it always felt like it was something for someone else. So I remember
Mm.
listening to your podcast a while back and thinking, oh yeah, and then I was like, I don't need to listen, because that's that's for that's for other women.
Yeah.
Just being really honest, it just felt like it was something outside of me and something that would come at a much later date. And I think it was easy for me to be really busy with so many things. And then all of a sudden it felt like it was here and I'm now in it. And by in it, I mean, I'm now perimenopausal.
Mm.
Yeah.
So how did you know? How did you know? You said you listened to my podcast for this like out of body experience. Like, well, that's not me. It's like listening to a story.
Yeah,
And
it's like Jack and Nori, isn't
and we do tend to move into some kind of denial about many things in our lives, and that I
it?
don't just mean you. And menopause is a big one, isn't it? So how
Mm.
did you join the dots? Like, how did you know that menopause was starting? How did you get to the point where you're like, oh, she means me?
Well, it was funny. So I thought that I had quite a few symptoms.
Mm.
Um,
What symptoms
Gosh,
did
I
you
had so many.
have?
Right, so I actually wrote them down because I actually wrote them down for the doctor, but we'll go back to that. You might get lots of noise because I can hear my son's walked back in with
All
the
good.
puppy. So yeah, gosh, there are a lot. So do you want to hear all of them?
Yes, I do. I do. I want you to read them
Okay.
all out, Sharon.
Oh, okay. It feels awkward. So I anxiety. I
Okay.
was having sharp shooting pains in my chest and stomach, which I thought were heart related, but I understand they can be down to menopause,
Mm.
perimenopause, achy joints,
Yeah.
irritable as hell. I think rage was one of the biggest things.
Okay.
Exhaustion, brain fog, feeling quite panicky, belly and back fat. I'm going to put that down to perimenopause and not my food consumption and lack of exercise. Um, racing thoughts at night,
Mm,
urinary incontinence, and
mm,
fatigue. And
mm.
the reason why that list is so long is because I started to log things over a matter of months. So it
Yeah,
wasn't like all in one day I had all of those symptoms. It was
I've got to
just that,
imagine.
yeah, can you imagine all of that? That'd be a lot.
Yeah.
But I think the rage thing was one of the biggest things. I was getting really, really, really angry and going from 0 to 60 really quickly and just
Did
feeling like there
you
was a big
notice?
weight.
Did you notice your rage? Was it like you couldn't stop yourself, or did someone else? Was anyone else brave enough to point it out? And
No, my husband wasn't.
who did you
I
point it at? Who got your rage, for example?
Oh gosh, you know the answer to that. Shut up.
Yes, but people who are listening do not.
Okay. I'd say family members got the rage the most.
Yeah,
I think it was quite easy at times to mask. I
yeah.
would share how I was feeling with friends, but then quite often they were being supportive. So they would, I think quite understandably be
Mm.
supportive of that rage, like you're right to feel like this because of da da
Yeah.
da da da. But I think there were situations where I could have handled things much better.
Do you think
Um,
so? Or do you think you did the best
mm,
you could with what you had at the time? I mean,
no, I did. I did the best I could. I think
yeah,
there is that kind of blame, isn't there, where you
yeah,
think, I should have been able to control this. I should have been able to react in a different way, but I physically couldn't.
yeah.
I would say that, yeah, things have changed quite a lot since then, like
Okay.
drastically
Yeah.
since that time. But it
Mm.
did take me quite a long time to get to this point
Yeah.
where I'm able to kind of step back from it a little bit and
Yeah.
see it for what it is and what it can be if I'm
Mm.
not treating it.
Yeah. You said you talked about, talking to your friends about the rage and then being supportive because they're supportive of you. That's what friends are for.
Mhm.
Did you discuss menopause with them? Did you discuss it in relation to, like, did you know that that was part of your menopause
No,
symptoms?
I don't.
Did you just think you were an angry bugger?
I just thought I was an angry cow, to be honest. I I didn't really think that it was about my perimenopause at
Mm.
all. I didn't really
Yeah.
match the two up. It was only when I started looking at symptoms and looking at my symptoms and going, oh, I didn't know that those sharp pains could be that. Oh, I didn't
Mm.
know that that could. Then it was making sense
Yeah.
because then I could see it fully. But I don't think maybe some people did realize. I know that when I spoke to you, we went to lunch last year and I think I started ranting on about a few personal things, and you were like, "You're perimenopausal," and I just looked at you, didn't I?
The thing is, I try very hard not because obviously menopause is yes, you did just look at me. So by the way, uh,
Yeah.
menopause can be attributed to lots of things. Sorry, lots of symptoms can be attributed to menopause, but there are
Mm.
things that aren't. But I also know you, and
Yeah.
so I spent time with you, and I could see that this was different. And I think I asked you. I think I might have checked how old you were first, and
Mhm.
then said. And kind of you looked at me, I looked at you, and I thought, well, what's going to happen now? you know
And I think because I'd already been to the doctor as well, and the doctor, because I explained to you, didn't I, that the doctor had said to me that I wasn't perimenopausal, and you said they're gaslighting you.
Mm,
And then I
mm,
think we talked through symptoms again, possibly.
mm,
And you were like, no, you're perimenopausal. But I think if you hadn't have said that, I would still be thinking that I was almost just making it up,
yeah.
which is really upsetting because not everyone's got a Karen Arthur in their life.
um, and also it's upsetting because there will be so many people, so many women who go to the doctors. And whilst there are, and this is, I always have to say, this is not coming down on doctors at all. There are some amazing
Mhm.
doctors out there. I have an amazing doctor. But
Yeah.
when you go and you are the person who knows yourself the most.
Mm.
And so it's having got jumped through hoops sometimes to get an appointment in the first place, and then to sit down and then to say all the stuff and have the courage to say, this is what's going on, knowing what's going on, and then for the doctor to say, I know you're too young, you know.
Mm.
I mean, how did
Yeah.
that make you feel?
So she didn't really. I thought initially, I just thought she would be helpful because she was female, first
Mm.
mistake. And because I'd gotten on well with her previously when I had postnatal depression. So I just thought she'll be able to help me this time. And she was just like, she wasn't really listening to me. She just, it made me feel like I was really silly and I was making something up. Made me
Oh,
feel really small, actually. Yeah, I felt really, really small. I felt like I feel like I know what I'm talking about, and I'm doing the research. I've really taken time to have a think about what my symptoms are.
yeah.
Um, and then she just said, basically, you're not. So I felt really, really silly. And I felt like, oh, this is so embarrassing. I think it was that thing of, I felt as though I'd wasted her time as well,
Yeah.
especially post COVID, not that COVID's over, but especially post pandemic.
Yeah.
You know, you kind of, I think we're really aware of how much of a strain there is on the NHS. So
Yeah.
to take up time for me, making an appointment and taking up that space,
Mm.
it felt like I'd done something wrong, to be
Mm.
honest.
And
Mm.
and the thing is, you know, we're all grown ups. We know so much in so many areas of our life, and we're in control
Mm.
in that sense. And then to feel small and to feel little and to feel silly,
Mm.
thrown back to, I don't know, primary school age or that kind of thing.
Yeah,
It's it really throws you, doesn't it?
it does. And I think because I've been feeling really proud of so many things in my life
As you
that are
should.
going
As
wrong,
you should.
I felt quite angry that
Okay.
perimenopause would hit me now.
Oh,
I just felt like just
expand
as
on that.
yeah, I just felt, I don't feel like this now, but I felt initially that so many things are going well. Why the bloody hell is why am I going through perimenopause now? This is
Mm.
my time, and I've got all this stuff to deal with. So it
And
felt quite fair.
okay. And isn't it interesting that at that time, and I'm glad you said that you don't feel like that now, that you saw
Mm,
it as a negative thing.
yeah, I did.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw it as a really negative thing. I was like, this is really unfair. This shouldn't be happening to me now, when
Mm.
obviously age-wise it should. But just but it was that kind of sense like I've waited my whole life to be an artist. And by artist I mean I have been an artist for many years, but I mean in terms of not working for another organization, you know, doing things on my own terms, being able to have a studio space, being able
Mm.
to do things full time as an artist, all of those things that I'm really, really happy to be able to do. Then I'm freaking well writing down lists of symptoms for
Yeah.
perimenopause. It just felt very out of control, and I do like to be in control. So
Yeah.
that's been, I think, the biggest adjustment.
And I will say, knowing, you know, a bit more about your journey than maybe someone who's listening right now, is that one of the symptoms will have been you deciding to leave your full-time job, you know,
Mm,
and that's a positive thing. And I
mm.
think often with perimenopause symptoms, yes, we look at the physical and the stuff that's affecting our day to day, but also there is something to be said for spinning that, you know, this time as positive, because you get to a point where you're like, yeah, I'm not doing that anymore, you know.
Yeah, I know. And
How
also, I think this year,
Go on.
sorry,
Go on.
go ahead.
No, I was
I was
just going
just
to say, I
thinking that,
wanted to talk about the transition from, you know, holding on to that job to take
yeah.
the leap. But you say what you were going to say, and then I'll go back.
So I was just going to say, I feel like this year in particular, there have been so many big changes. You know, my first solo show in London, um, agreeing to get the little puppy, um,
I'm being represented.
being represented by a gallery. There are
Yeah.
all these really, really showing overseas for the first time, showing in New York and Lagos, showing in Miami later this year. All of these really amazing things, and all of these big leaps. Because I think with this period of change, I'm thinking about this is another chapter,
Mm.
and not necessarily a final chapter, but this is another chapter. But it is
Okay.
another chapter. It's a big change. I'm no longer, you know, I'm no longer super young Sharon, and I probably wasn't for many years, but I feel different.
But
I do
also your
feel
profile
different.
is changing as well. You're no longer invisible, Sharon.
Yeah.
People know you. You're on TV. You know,
Mhm.
you know, there are things, lots of things are changing simultaneously. There are layers of changing, you know.
Mm. And I
It,
think during a time when so many women feel invisible, I'm trying to do the complete opposite. I'm trying to turn it
yes.
on its head. So seeing ourselves isn't just about creating collages of Black women that celebrate them. It's about being seen. It's about
Mm,
living, seeing ourselves. So, you know, being within certain
mm,
spaces,
mm.
speaking up, talking, having that confidence to do challenging things, pushing myself all the time, um, to be seen and heard, but also it's not just about being seen, it's about instigating change. That's really
Yes.
important for me.
Yeah.
And so all of those things, I love the fact that I'm doing this now. And I don't think I could have done all of this earlier on. I wasn't ready.
No.
And I
No.
didn't have as much to say. I got a lot to say now. Um, I got a lot to say.
How did you
Yeah.
go from that what was the catalyst to go from, okay, I've got this job, because we worry about money, we worry about failure, we worry about all sorts of
Mhm.
things. And you give off this impression that you're not worried and you're confident and all the rest of it, but you're
Mm,
as well, and you go back and forth with your thoughts and all that kind of stuff. So
mm.
what was the difference?
So why did I make that change? How did I make
Yeah.
that change?
Yeah.
I think it was predominantly because of the pandemic, and it
Yeah.
was being shut away, and I was on furlough. Not shut away, but removed from my usual routine of everyday life of
Yeah.
working part time at a museum and doing my art part time. And so being removed from that space and being surrounded by and I know it wasn't the same for everyone, but for me, that time was really important, and it
Yeah.
worked really well for me. And I feel really fortunate that I had that experience in terms
Mm.
of being with loved ones, being with people who really supported me,
Mm.
being able to share my work, being able to talk on social media about what I
Yeah.
do, and doing
Yeah.
Instagram lives and all of that kind of stuff. I
Mm.
did so much of that during that time, and it really built my confidence.
Yeah.
So when I was in spaces where I wasn't seen and heard, and my work didn't feel respected, or to the degree that I felt it should be or could be,
Mm.
it made me feel, again, that going back to that thing of feeling quite small.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden I could see that there was so much more, and that
Yeah.
I could make money on my own terms, and I
Mm.
could create, and people would love my work, and places like the Tate would reach out to me and say, can you do an Instagram live for us? Would you be a mentor for us?
Mm.
Um, and so things started to just snowball, just gradually. Opportunities would come up where Cornell University, for example, would contact
Mm.
me and say, can you do an online talk
I
that's
remember.
open to all of our
Yeah.
faculty? Do you remember? Those were some
Yeah.
really exciting times.
Yeah.
So I think it just began to build gradually. Um, and then I'd have a phone call where someone would say, or an email rather, where someone would say, we're doing this TV show, and would
Yeah.
you consider being a mentor? There were all these amazing things happening bit by bit.
And you
And I
created that
just,
space. You
yeah,
created that space. These aren't
yeah.
coincidences.
No, I don't think they're luck either. And
Good.
that's not meant to sound arrogant,
No.
but I feel as though I did create these opportunities by making myself vulnerable, and also by saying yes to things that
Yeah.
felt right,
Yeah.
and felt that they would push and stretch me, but they would also help me to learn.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's that willingness to learn, and just going back to what you said about the risks, with not making money. I still get nervous about money,
Yeah.
still,
Yeah.
because studio rent is very high. It's like having
Mm.
a second mortgage. It's really, really high. It's crazy.
Mm.
Um, Also, when you're working with a gallery, you'll pay, there's a split.
Yeah.
So I no longer get the full
Yeah.
amount.
Mm.
There are so many different factors that make, even when you're growing and look
Yeah.
like you're doing really well, you still get nervous about things. But I guess
Yeah.
what I do a lot of is I share how vulnerable I'm feeling with close friends and my husband. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So
that's it's important that you've got people to share with, to talk to, but also
mm,
that you own those feelings. I think
yeah.
some people not some people, let me put this another way. When we reach a stage in our lives with perimenopause, menopause, and all sorts of things are going on with us that make us feel out of sorts. And what happens is many people who experience menopause try to keep that to themselves, or they
Mm,
second guess themselves or gaslight themselves because
mm,
no one around them it doesn't look like anybody's going through the same thing. So it's really important that you are able to own when you're feeling shit, and you're
mm,
very good at doing that. on Instagram. I remember having a conversation with you years ago, and we talked about how the hell you show up on Instagram so often and write so much. I remember you saying Instagram is your journal. I've never forgotten that,
Yeah, yeah,
because
it
I
was, and
was
it
saying,
was.
I don't have the time to be writing all of that, that kind of stuff. And I'd get up and I'd open it, and you'd written a bloody novel. And then
Yeah,
you but I have sat in bed and journaled. That's my
yeah,
thing. So I
yeah,
think you've made your life the way that your new life, in a sense,
mhm,
work for you. Because even though you might not be, I don't know, sitting and journaling, doing morning pages or
mhm.
a load of yoga or whatever, I'm just exaggerating here, but do you know what I mean? At
Yeah,
least you're doing what works for you, and that's what's
yeah,
important.
yeah,
Yeah,
and I think more recently I post far less than I
yeah,
used to,
yeah.
and there's far less than that I want to share or feel that I can share, maybe,
Mm.
or maybe want to share. I don't know. I think it's a bit of both. I think there's part of me that keeps so much more private now than I used to.
Yeah,
Um, but I think it's because I'm trying to manage the effects of social media and
yeah,
being on that platform
yeah,
and constantly looking and it taking up so much time and
yeah,
consuming so much of me
yeah,
that I am trying. I don't think I'm necessarily succeeding, but I'm trying to consume less
yeah.
and
I
trying to
understand.
think about how I feel. How do
Mm.
I feel about certain topics? Do I want to speak about certain things? Do I have capacity for as much as the world is throwing at us? And I think I genuinely don't. And I don't think many of us do. But I do want to focus on the things that still mean a lot to me.
Because you
And
still
so
have to
that,
live. You have to be
yeah,
able
I
to live.
still have to live. Yeah, I
Mm.
still need to be able to live. So I think one of the things that I'm really enjoying currently is, well, am I enjoying it? No, that's a lie. Let me rephrase that. One of the things that is helping me to manage myself
Yeah.
and to manage my mental health is running. So
But
having
you
a
enjoy
boundary.
it afterwards. Running is one of
And
those
that's
things
what I mean.
that
That's
it
what I
takes
mean.
you
That's why I said
hours
I
to
don't enjoy
go,
it.
then you're doing it and it's absolute rubbish, and
And
then
then
you finish,
afterwards,
and
the
then
high.
suddenly right, right. So
Yeah, the
I do
endorphins are
understand that.
everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what I look for. When I run, I'm looking forward to the feeling because I remember how it will make me feel.
Because
And
you haven't
so
been
I've
running
been
for long,
doing
have you? You haven't been
no, so
running,
I
like,
think no.
when did
This
you start?
stint of running is about 14 weeks now,
Okay.
consistently 3 times a week. I had one
Right.
week where I wasn't feeling well, so I had to slow down because I was
Mm.
really, really sick. But the rest of the time I've run 3 times a week for that period, which has been great. And it has been couched to 5K. So it's not like I'm doing half an hour runs for the last 14 weeks. It's like
Okay.
gradually building up
Yeah.
using the app.
Yeah.
Um, and that's really helped because that's made me focus on something else other than getting up and doing the
Yeah.
whole
Doing all the
Instagram thing
things.
every single
Yeah.
time, doing all the things and looking at all the stuff.
And you do know, I hope you know this, Sharon,
Hmm.
that your series, Seeing Ourselves, has received accolades, as well it should. Being
Mhm.
the power of being able to see ourselves literally in
Mhm.
artworks, in galleries, it cannot be underestimated. But you also, I hope you understand that when you show up, when you manage yourself, when you say less
Mhm.
or say more, however the pivot
Mhm.
that you've created in your life is inspiring to others, and particularly to other people who look like you. So even though it might
Mhm.
feel like, I don't know what I'm doing, this isn't supposed to be happening, all the rest of it, actually
Mm.
we need to see more people like you and me, and who
Yeah.
are just not absolutely 100% refusing to go quietly.
Yeah, I ain't going down quietly, and I will be as bright as I can and as
Yeah,
loud as I can.
yeah.
Not necessarily always as loud, but do you know what I really, like people talk about influence. The thing that
Mm,
I really would love to influence
mm,
is empowering women who look like us
mm,
to be able to really embrace rest and truly feel like it's for them and
mm.
that it's something that they can access however
Do you?
much or however
Mm.
little. because that's what I'm trying to navigate at the moment, is how do I factor rest into an intensely busy time where I know currently I literally potentially only have like a month off until,
Yeah.
in terms of commitments, until February 2026. And we're
What?
now,
That's wild.
yeah. Yeah, it's just because I have the fellowship. Do you see what I mean? So I have the
Yeah.
fellowship where I'll be doing research for a year, and then I have um, how many shows coming up? We're in October, September. I have two
Yeah.
shows coming up
Mm,
this year. I'm in two shows currently.
mm,
There's so much going on,
mm.
but it's also. But I should add that when I'm creating these works, it's actually giving me space
Yeah.
to relax and to breathe. So I might call a friend and talk for an hour while I'm making
And
and
that's
be
the beauty of
cutting.
creativity, isn't it?
Yeah, and
It's
I'll be
that
like
pure.
yesterday. I was saying to a friend, I was like, "Listen, you need to stop making me laugh so much because the thing that I'm cutting right now is so intricate that I'm going
Yeah.
to have to put the phone down on you because this is too
Yeah.
funny." So
Yeah.
even though I'm calling it work,
Yeah.
it's actually I find creating really, really healing, and it slows everything down for me, and it gives me space to breathe because my mind is generally going at 100 miles an hour all the time. I'm always thinking of something. I'm always, oh, I could Google this. Oh, that thought's coming into my head. Let me deal with that. And I'm
Talking of
literally
minds
jumping.
racing, are we gonna talk about why your mind is racing? What do you know about yourself that you didn't know about yourself? I don't know when
Well,
I first.
I think there are certain things that have changed.
Are there,
Um,
Sharon? Would you like to share?
yeah,
This is my gentle kind of,
like
yes, we're
you.
going there.
We're going there. So there are things that have changed. So things that I wasn't really able to identify, such as my ability to hyper focus
Mm,
for like an extraordinary number of
mm,
hours. So I can be in the studio, I can start a piece, say at 10:30. I
mm,
might have one loo break. I
mm.
get so intensely into my work that at 4 o'clock, I'm kind of going, I've eaten something one hour because
Yeah.
I'm not silly, but I've eaten something, but grab something while I'm working, and I will just work for hours and hours and hours on a single piece, taking off my glasses, being like an inch or two away from the
Uh,
work that I'm making,
yeah.
being completely immersed in what I'm doing. Also, my need to have things super organized. So, this is why having a puppy is quite a challenge for me. I was like, how am I ever going to do this? Because I like things a certain way.
Yeah.
And so my studio space, which you've been to, and
Beautiful
uh,
space.
thank you, is really organised, and people are usually quite shocked because they're like, "This is meant to be an artist studio." Yes,
Yeah.
but I'm a special kind of artist. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm not your
She has
archetypal
knives,
lady.
guys. She has
I have
knives.
knives. Don't mess with me.
And a perimenopausal woman with
With
knives.
knives, indeed. So there are just quite a few things that have made me, and I think some things have been heightened. So
Mm,
my need for order, my need for certain routines, my need for things like a really beautiful scented candle, a rose hip tea, an organic rose hip tea. Don't
yeah,
give me another cup of tea. Give me a glass of water in a wine glass. Da, da, da. There are all these things that I really, really like having, and so these have heightened over the last few months, I'd say.
mm. And that will be your perimenopause. That will be. Have you got a diagnosis? ADHD diagnosis.
No, I haven't. I
Right.
heard it costs money, and also I heard there was a waiting list. So if I want to do it
You're right to
privately,
vote on both of those counts.
yeah. And so at the moment, I kind of, between a couple of friends, there is one friend in particular that keeps sending me ADHD memes and just basically just pointing things
And this
out.
is
She
not me
knows.
saying that you have. I'm not trying
No,
to diagnose
no,
you, but
no, no.
But I recognise that you're recognising something is going on
Yeah,
in yourself. And
yeah,
also there are lots of women who reach perimenopause and are also being diagnosed with ADHD. So I wouldn't, be that wouldn't be surprising knowing what I know about you as well. How are
yeah.
you being? So, how is menopause perceived in your immediate or bigger family? And how are
Hmm.
they supporting you? And do they have a choice? No, that I just added that.
Number one, let's start from the bottom up. So they do not have a choice. You know me and the way I live. So I'm
They're
fortunate to
very
live.
good with you, though, aren't they?
They are
That sounds
very
really
good with me.
patronising.
No, but they are very good with me. Oh my gosh, that's so loaded, and we know exactly what we're talking about here, but they're very good
Okay.
with me. So I've been with my partner, my husband, my lover, for 29 years. Um, it's a long time, bless him. He literally walked in from work just now, and I was just like, "I'm doing a podcast interview. I can't download da 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 da." And he just looked at me and went, "Okay." He was really calm. He just left the room, so calm.
Oh,
Um, but yeah,
you
he's
need that.
very
You need that.
understanding. He's so understanding, and he's so calm, and he gives me a lot of space.
Yeah.
And by that I mean not just like, oh, I do whatever I want, not whatever I want, but
Yeah.
it gives me a lot of space to speak
Yeah.
and to be understood and to be heard. And
Yeah.
my children are the same. So I have really open conversations with all three of them.
Yeah.
Um, Really often, I think sometimes the detail is a bit too much for the kids. They're a little bit like, calm down, but they're learning, and
Yeah.
I'm offering
And they'll
them
thank you
something
later
that
on,
is.
just not right now.
They will. They know stuff that many 12 and 16-year-olds don't know.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I'm now on HRT, and I felt a little uncomfortable about saying it. I know that not everyone's pro it, and that's
Shall we
fine for
unpack
them.
that?
Hmm?
Shall we unpack that? The uncomfortable,
Yeah.
because we have had this conversation. Tell us a little bit more about why that's a thing, because it is a thing.
Yeah, I think because for some of the research that came out previously had talked about its links to certain really negative conditions. And so there are certain people who don't feel comfortable with it, which is completely fine. I understand everyone has a choice. But I got to the point where I had to say I rarely talk about it anymore unless
Mm,
I feel like it's a safe space.
mm,
And if I do talk about it, I make sure that I caveat it by
mm.
saying, I'm not asking for your permission. I'm just telling you what I'm doing.
Wow. Okay.
Because I think that's really important. Because I think sometimes if I tell someone something, they think I'm asking for permission. I really am
Right.
not.
Yeah.
I can see the positive impact and changes it's had on me.
Good.
And so, because of that, I will continue to take it until I learn otherwise.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
I think,
that's where I'm
no,
at.
I asked because I came into this space. What do
Mhm.
I mean by that? When I started to talk about menopause a long time ago,
Yeah.
when I first left teaching, which is 9 years ago,
Mhm.
because not because I wanted to talk about menopause, but because I couldn't shut up about all the things. So it was mental well-being, it was whatever I was going through, you were going to hear it.
Yeah.
And then, but my stance was HRT is a no,
Mhm.
you know.
Mm.
And then I started working, with other people and started hearing a little
Mhm.
bit more. This is my personal journey. This is not me saying everybody should take HRT. And I also
Yeah.
am aware that, look, there are people who cannot take it, as well as
Yeah.
people who don't want to take it. And
Yeah.
it got to the point where I was like, well, let me just try it. And if I hate it, I'll come off it. And that was my
Mm.
stance. But I think it was from my mum, from her very clear, oh no, I'm not taking that. That gives you breast cancer.
Mhm.
Literally, that's what she said. To
Mhm.
listening to old research from 2002, which has been debunked.
Mhm.
To this
Yeah.
whole, I didn't know anyone who looked like me who was actually saying they were taking HRT.
No, I
So it
didn't know
felt like
anyone.
a big confession.
It
And I
did.
also, I'm going to say, it felt
Go
like
on,
there was
say
a
it.
whole it's something
I know
about
what
it.
you're going to say.
Weakness, like you should
Mm.
be able to strong black woman your way through menopause, which of course is absolute rubbish.
And I've
But
had a few
there's
people say that to me
something.
recently. Yeah, I have. I've had a few people say it's part of a natural process and you need to deal with you just need to deal with it. People have said that to me
Yeah.
recently I'd say within the last 4 months, 5 months, people have said that to me. Yeah,
I have issues with that, to put it
so do
mildly.
I.
I think everybody's choice is their choice. I think what's
Mm,
important is that everybody should be informed. And as long
yeah.
as this choice works for you, remember it is a choice. And
Mhm.
I also have people, black women, who have contacted me on, spoken to me in the street, but also via, social media, etc., who said they only started it because they saw that that I was doing it as
I think
well.
that's why I started it.
Oh God.
Bloody influencer.
Oh
But
God.
do you know what it was? You influenced me to take it, but you influenced me to read about it. That's what I would
Yes.
say.
Yeah.
Is that you inspired me to find out more about it instead of just shutting it
Right.
down
Right.
as an option. And then
Right.
it was like, actually, she's on it,
What you did as you were told, Sharon. What is this?
did as I was
Careful.
told. And I also listened to Davina McCall's book as well.
Right. Yeah.
I'm menopausing. I listened to that book. I watched the episode the show
Sex.
that you were in.
Yeah.
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 And then I did research. And I remember the doctor, this was an annoying thing that happened
Mm.
with with the way my mind works. That's what I'm going to
Mm.
call it. With the way my mind works. If
Your
someone sends me
beautiful mind.
my beautiful mind, if someone sends me a link
Mm.
and then it has loads of information,
Yeah.
you can guarantee I'm not reading it.
Yeah. No, I'm
It's
the
not going
same.
to happen.
Yeah.
So I remember going back to the doctor and she was like, so did you read everything that I sent you? Number one, you sent it via old school text message.
Oh
I
God.
tend not to really engage
Yeah.
that much
Yeah.
with that. I think I just assumed it was almost like the surgery
Raw
will be
mail.
open these days. Yeah.
Yeah.
At these times, I was like, oh, that's not for
Every
me.
parcel has to be returned to depot.
Yeah. So I was like, don't need to open that. So apparently she had sent me all of this information.
Mm.
So my mind can't engage
Mm.
like that. It just
Mm.
finds it very, very tricky. So
Mm.
I just needed to find ways to ensure that I could access the information I needed to access.
Mm.
So that was through audiobook. That was through watching a program and then
It's
listening
lots of
to the
the senses
podcast.
being engaged, isn't it? It's lots,
Yeah, yeah,
and also
yeah.
it's hearing. This is why I advocate for looking at lots of different sources, because the information can be very confusing. And if
Mm,
it's just like, I'm exactly the same as you, in the sense that if you send, also, if you tell me to do
yeah.
something, I'm probably not going to do it. So
Yeah,
there's that as
exactly. It's like,
well.
don't tell me what to do. Who are you
Right,
talking to?
right. But I think it's also about being. I'm a kinesthetic learner. I know that if
Mm,
someone's moving, if there's colour, if there's lots of different,
yeah,
I'm engaged. But
yeah,
if
me
it's
too.
something to read, nah, it's not happening. So
Exactly.
it.
And so she did give me, sorry to interrupt, but she did give me some leaflets. And
Mm,
I remember, you've just reminded me actually, she gave me some leaflets and I looked at the leaflets. I was like, is she joking? There's still too much. So I gave them to my husband and I said, can you read through this? And can you just summarize what's being said in each thing? And then we
and
can
he did
talk
it,
about
didn't
it
he?
together. Yeah, of course he did it. And we
Oh,
just talked through it. And then it became far more accessible for me. It's not that
yeah,
I can't read, it's just that, as
yeah.
we were saying, that's not how I kind of
It's not how you
digest
process things, and
information.
that's fine.
No.
And it's important
Mm.
that you once you understand that, then you can find a different way to
Mm.
access the information. I was going to ask you about
Yeah.
the doctor, but I think we know about the doctor now.
Yeah.
That was my next question, but you've kind
Well,
of
do you know what the funniest thing is, though? So what I did was because you told me to go back to the doctor, so I went back. I didn't go back to her,
mm,
Bunda.
mm,
I went and saw, and they were suggesting other doctors. I was like, no, don't want to see them. They're very grumpy. I'd like to see. Okay, and then they got to a doctor. I was like, yeah, actually, I'll see him.
yeah.
So I went to see this doctor, and actually, I didn't get to go in and see him.
Oh, yeah.
They wouldn't give me an appointment. They gave me a triage appointment
Okay.
and we talked through everything on the phone.
Mm,
And he said, how about we try HRT? Have you considered it? And we went from there. And then
yeah.
I was due to go back for a follow up, which I did.
Yeah.
And I said everything was going well. And that's how it happened. But I just refused to speak to her
Yeah.
about this particular thing again because I knew what I was going to get.
And also, there's a common mistake that we make. Uh, I've done it, where you assume that
Mm.
the female doctor's going to understand,
Yeah.
and
I
that's
just
not
thought,
that's not a given at all. And I've
no.
learnt that through menopause.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's interesting. You're not the first person to say that to me. It's like, oh well, I picked a female doctor for that reason.
Yeah.
No, more and more doctors are not just electing, but choosing to access menopause training, and it is getting
Mhm.
better. But we still
Yeah.
have swathes of bias to wade through,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
preconceived notions and stuff like that. So I will always say what I said to you, which was go back. We have a
Yeah,
choice.
and I think, and one thing that the doctor did say was that that initial doctor, not the second one, but the
Mm,
initial doctor did say that that she recalls me saying similar things about behaviour wise years ago. And she
right.
just kind of brought this other stuff up. And I was like, no, no, but this is different because of this. So I
Yeah.
think it's about speaking up for yourself, being an advocate of yourself,
Mm.
and trusting your feelings,
Yeah. Yeah.
and just
That's
being really
really
open.
important, what you said.
Mm,
Trusting your feelings. That's
yeah,
that. Trust your feelings. Going on a t-shirt. Um,
yeah.
I love it. Well, the next question is, do you have a routine?
Yes, I
Well,
do.
would you like
Well,
to
let me
share
tell
it?
you.
Share it, Sharon.
Okay,
Tell
so
the world.
should I share like what should I share?
I don't
So
want the
when I
abridgment.
go, oh,
No, you share whatever
oh.
you want to share, my darling.
So the routine is a little bit different now because of the small furry creature
Sorry.
that now
Yeah.
lives with us.
Hmm.
Um, but I think what I really focus on now
Mm.
is I really like nice scent first thing,
Yeah.
and then I like it throughout the day. So
Okay.
having a small furry creature interrupts that because they
Okay.
seem to have smells sometimes that pop out. Um, but I like to have really beautiful scents. So I
Mm.
love to burn a candle, and that's whether I'm in the house or in the studio, or even
Do
in
you
the
have a
car. I like
particular
to have,
brand that you like, or
oh gosh,
or a
yes.
particular smell, or both?
Yes, there is. So for
Okay, well,
so
I've
for
asked the right
candles,
question.
you've asked the right question. Favorite candle is Diptyque Tuberose.
Okay.
It's the most beautiful scent for me ever.
Okay.
It brings me pure joy and helps me to
Oh,
breathe, and
that's beautiful.
I just love it. I love it more than anything.
Mhm.
Um, I like to drink rosehip tea, so I drink. There's a rose theme. My dog is also called Rosie, by the way. Yes, I named the dog. So I like rosehip tea. I drink organic rosehip tea all
Mm,
day long.
mm,
I don't drink caffeine. I don't drink alcohol. I
mm.
haven't drunk caffeine for over 8 years. Alcohol for 6.5. Although
Mm.
I tried it recently,
Did
that didn't go
you?
well. I did after 6.5 years without it.
Why? Did someone was it peer pressure, or you
I was
just
with
said,
a particular friend,
"Okay,
and
all right."
I tried it. I just thought there isn't a reason why
Yeah.
I completely forgot about the whole thing that it gives me headaches, makes me feel
Yeah.
really ill.
Right.
I was
Yeah.
just in the moment of, yeah, I can have a drink.
I'm a grown up.
I'm a grown up. I can do. And immediately my head started to pound from the back, and I was like, oh,
Oh
maybe
my
I just
god.
need one more. I'll be okay.
Sharon
Uh,
Walters.
I know.
Mm-mm.
Um, But I'm still glad that because I know that I definitely cannot.
Yeah, it's just
So
a reminder.
it's a reminder. So yeah, so there's rosehip tea, there's the candle, there's the I got into a habit of eating an omelette every morning.
Okay, that's
Um,
not a bad
if
thing.
I
That's
run, it's a good thing. If I
mm,
run, I have a banana before I run. I always need just a banana,
yeah.
then I run.
Mm,
Um, I just have lots of little things.
mm,
Lots of little things.
mm,
I always need to have my nails done. There are all
mm,
these little things that I love to do. I never leave the house without a bold, bright lipstick ever.
mm, mm.
Um,
And
and if I
you
do,
got
I
me.
feel a bit
Not that I'm wearing
uncomfortable.
one bold today, but certainly you got me on.
No, do you remember when you first
Two
started
things
wearing?
you've influenced me to do: bold lipstick, like lipstick
Yeah,
that isn't pink, even though I'm wearing pink today,
yeah,
and putting soft drinks in a wine glass. Mate, game changer.
yeah.
Game changer.
It's a
Honestly,
game
I
changer.
have beautiful wine glasses, and
Yeah,
I'll put coconut water in it.
nice. I've got a big gin glass, and I've got vitamin C tablet and sparkling water.
As you do. As
No
you
one told me I don't know how to party. But yeah, I think I make lots of rules throughout the day. So when I'm making artwork, for example, there will be some thoughts that come into my mind that say, these lines need to, and this is quite a consistent one currently over the last year or so, that the lines can't cross over when I'm creating a negative space,
okay.
or that I will have to make continuous lines using the scalpel knife into the image,
Mm,
creating certain shapes and
mm,
continuing to make those certain shapes
yeah,
throughout the course of the day. Yeah, so there were all these things that before I would, like when you're in art college, told to be a bit messy.
yeah,
Now I'm embracing
yeah.
who I am and what feels comfortable to me.
Mm.
I feel so much happier
Oh,
because I'm not trying to be anything else but me or anyone else but me. And it's just like when you're public speaking, I'm not trying to be like anyone else. I'm not trying to speak like anyone else.
yeah.
I will just allow myself that space to be myself, which is really important.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. How do you celebrate yourself?
I like to take myself away
Yeah.
on solo trips. I
Mm,
like to, um, today I celebrated myself by going and buying a candle. It wasn't the brand that I mentioned earlier, but it's another tuberose one for a
mm,
different brand. I bought a candle. I like to sometimes I treat myself to a decaf oat latte
oh, you do.
with some honey. I'm wild like that. I'm so wild. Um, or how do I celebrate myself? I like going out for meals. I
Mm,
really like going out for meals.
mm,
Celebrate myself by exercising and caring for my body as much as I
yeah.
can. But I also celebrate myself by eating cake.
Yes. Big
Yes.
fan. I
Yeah.
think
And my
I
daughter
noticed
bakes.
you're good at taking yourself away. I think that's what I do
Mm,
from, for a few days, for a long
yeah.
weekend, that kind of thing. And I think with the way that how busy your life is and how busy your life is about to be as well, factoring in that those breaks are really important. And
Mm,
sometimes they are working breaks. Sometimes they're,
yeah.
when you've like been doing your collages, but just really dumb down your practice. Doing your little collages,
I
you know what I
know. Doing your paperwork. You do works on paper.
mean?
Cut up
Dabbling.
paper,
Yeah.
glue it back to dabbling.
Cutting and sticking.
Someone called it my handiwork recently, and I was giggling to myself.
Oh my gosh,
Your
honestly.
handiwork. I was like, okay. But yeah, I do. I mix. So next week I'm going to New York, which I'm very
Okay.
excited about. And
Mm.
I'm away for a week, and it's a mix of work and I don't. That's the thing. Someone said, "Is it work or
Work,
play?" And
yeah. It's
I'm
both.
like, it's both. And I don't really see my work as work. I tend not to say I'm going to work
Yeah.
because that reminds me of those old spaces where I had to be in a certain time, leave at a certain time,
Yeah.
take a lunch break, someone
Yeah.
looking at how long you've been out. Blah, 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 blah. Um, So yeah, I'm just going to play and
Good.
do some research and
Eat
yeah,
some cake.
eat some cake and eat some New York bagels because they'd
Ooh.
be good. They're really good.
Okay. Which tune instantly makes you want to dance?
Okay, so I have a few. Can I name
Well, we're
three?
not
Because I
surprised.
couldn't narrow it down. Okay, so Tyler, Been Thinking. That's a newbie. I
Been
really love that
thinking.
tune.
Okay. All
Yeah,
right.
Been Thinking. Big Flexer by Costa
Okay.
Titch. Phenomenal.
What's
And then
say
an
that again?
old
Big
Big
flexor.
Flexer, Flexa, Big Flexer.
To write that
It's
down.
such a
Because
tune,
I'm old, so I don't know
honestly.
what you're chatting about. I've just written that down. I'll look at it
and
after.
then And then I think it's quite old. My daughter heard it for the first time a few weeks ago. She was crying. She said, "Is he being serious or is this a joke?"
Oh
But
God,
it's
what was
LL Cool J, "Control Myself" tune. I'm sorry, but she was just
Listen,
such a
LL
tune.
Cool
I
J
know
is
it's
a
a bit.
don. The
He's
man's a
such a dog.
don.
She had to look him up. She had to Google him, the 12-year-old,
Oh God,
because
that
she was
makes
like, he
me.
has to be joking. She was like, what? Why is he speaking like that? Why is he why is he saying those lyrics? They're so inappropriate.
That's so
And they
funny.
actually are. But anyway,
Anyway,
those are my
but that's
three.
another story. Okay, my
That's another
darling.
story.
We've reached the end. I have one more question for you. I've loved chatting with you. I knew I would anyway. But what's the one piece of advice you would give to any Black woman listening to us right now?
Oh, I think make space for yourself.
Mm,
Trust your feelings. Use your voice and do what makes you happy.
mm, mm.
Yeah, I think that's more than one, but that's how I feel. I don't think I can narrow it down to one.
Yeah, that's absolutely fine. I'll let you off. Sharon, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for your time, your honesty, your humour. Yeah, it's been great. Thank you for joining us on Menopause Whilst Black.
And thank you so much for inviting me on to speak with you, Karen. I very rarely speak so openly, but you create a space that makes it safe. So I really appreciate you and love you dearly.
Oh, and this is where we hold hands and skip off into the sunset.
Yeah, right? I gotcha.
Oh, Sharon. Sharon, my good friend Sharon. Such a blessing to have women like this in my life who I look up to, who I aspire to. I have watched her journey. I met her at I guess, a crossroads when, as she said, she was working in a museum in West London. And I have been privileged to experience her blossoming and her growing into her true self. And I'm looking forward to seeing what happens next. Sharon, I know you're listening to this. Thank you for your time. And your honesty as always. I am forever grateful to all my guests for choosing to sit down with me and share their story. It's no mean feat. And vulnerability, whilst it's difficult, it is very rewarding because there are so many people, Black women in particular, who are listening to this who will get some kind of solace. We tend to think that when people get to a certain status or a certain stage, almost like they're superhuman, like they're different. They're not different. We are, we have similar stories, we have stories that resonate. And this is why, for me anyway, Menopause Whilst Black, the podcast, is so important. It's about sharing the stories of people who look like me, who are just trying to find their way in the world. Menopause is not the end. World Menopause Month has been all around highlighting the benefits of hormone replacement therapy, and also it's finding out more about this, this remedy. And I will also say that Menopause Awareness Month is also about finding out more about yourself and ensuring that you can get the best out of the menopause care that you deserve. So thank you, Sharon, from the bottom of my heart. I loved listening to your journey. I also loved that I'm part of that journey. And I'm excited to see more and more things that you get up to in the future. You heard that you can contact Sharon on Instagram. She's at London Artist 1, and also on her website. And I will put all of that information in the show notes because, of course, it's gone out of my head, hasn't it? Typical. What else do I have to say to you? The Joy Retreat. Oh, my goodness. I am so excited. So the 3-month payment plan for the Joy Retreat, the world's first retreat designed by a Black woman for Black women in any stage of menopause. Anybody can join. We are off to Barbados next year, the 28th of April to the 5th of May. There are 10 spaces, and it looks like there may be 7 left because it looks like I had a confirmation today, which is rather excited. I'm excited to bring this offering of nurturing, of nourishment, of safety in my parents' ancestral home, in my ancestral home, in the country that my parents were brought up in, and that I feel most at home in when I return. I would love for you to join us. The 3-month payment plan ends tomorrow, the 31st of October. Contact me at hello@menopausewasblack.com if you want to find a little bit more information, or just hop onto my website, menopausewasblack.com, and everything is there. The information, the 5-star testimonials, and payment plan information, and also how you can book. That's it, I am off into London again. I am going to do a read aloud of my new book, Grandma's Locks, which is now available everywhere that you can find books, which is very exciting. And all that remains for me to say to you is to look after yourself. Be gentle with yourself. Choose how you take in information. Be mindful of what serves you, whether it's social media, whether it's the news, whether it's certain people around you, whether it's how much work you do. Please be gentle with yourself. Drink enough water. What is it they say? If you're thirsty, then you're already dehydrated. So drink some water. In fact, now's the time to do it, unless you're running and you don't have water on you. I'm rambling. I'm going to go. Have the most wonderful day, evening, week, and I will see you next week. Okay, bye.